What's going on, you guys? I am coming to you today with some plot hole explanations for The Last Jedi, so be careful of spoilers in case you haven't seen the movie already, because we are going to talk about specific plot points. So today, I'm going to be talking about the scene where hyperspace is used as a weapon, where Admiral Holdo sends the Raddus into hyperspace into the Mega Star Destroyer, the Supremacy there, and basically people said, well, if that's the case, then how come the Rebellion just isn't using this all the time, or how come the Resistance isn't? Why not just strap hyperdrive to an asteroid and then just start doing that if it's, if that's so effective? Well, I'm going to talk about that. So first thing, I'm going to make basically 4 main points as to why we're not going to be seeing this very much, and hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And if not, then let me know in the comments below. So the first thing, it's expensive. The Rebellion or the Resistance, I'm just going to say, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to apply both to the Rebellion and the Resistance, so I'm just going to say Rebellion moving forward. But the Rebellion is got a very limited budget, so they can't just afford to keep doing this. All right, you saw a small hyperdrive in Star Wars Rebels, but that's not the entire, everything you need to make an entire hyperdrive and make it work. And that alone couldn't send an asteroid into hyperspace. You would still need things like engines to push it. You still need computers to give it the calculations to control it. You still need a power source, a big enough power source to power a hyperdrive and to send something into hyperspace. And by the time you've put all that onto an asteroid, you've effectively just about built an entire ship anyway. And you're going to need an astromech or a navicomputer. So you're looking at multiple millions of credits worth of investment into a single shot. So, I mean, whereas, blasters and torpedoes are, a tiny, tiny fraction of that cost. So if you're the Rebellion and you have to, wage an entire war against the Empire, you need as many shots as you can take, and not just spending, half of your fleet into one shot. Not half of your fleet, but you can't afford to start sacrificing starfighters as bullets, because then you're going to run out of all of your resources after a single battle. So even if you win, you'll have nothing left. So it's expensive. Second point, it takes time to charge a hyperdrive. We see multiple times when somebody's powering up their navicomputer, or they're powering up their hyperdrive, and even in this movie, you see it happen, and they're able to say, hey, that ship is powering up its hyperdrive. There's time to react. So if you're a small ship, like something the size of an asteroid or a starfighter, you stand a pretty good chance of being blasted out of the sky before you even go into hyperspace. So let's say we do spend multiple millions of credits to turn an asteroid into hyperdrive. Well, now they just have to blast the asteroid and blow the whole thing up. So now you could put a powerful shield generator on there, which makes it even more expensive. But the idea here is that it takes time, and so there's a risk. There's a risk to be able to do something, that there's a time delay. Also, not only that, is it the fact that it takes time to charge makes there a really good chance that you could miss. So you have to be pointing at a very specific point. In the case of this movie, you were looking at a monstrously huge ship. So a pretty good chance you're going to hit somewhere on the ship. But against anything smaller than that, let's say a regular, like an Imperial Star Destroyer or a cruiser, or anything smaller than that, a light cruiser, really good chance you're going to miss, because these ships are moving, and they're moving fast. So yes, you might be able to hit a Death Star or a Super Star Destroyer or a Mega Star Destroyer, which is like way bigger than a Super Star Destroyer. But anything smaller than that, that is moving, you have a really good chance of missing. Because you have to charge, you have to say, I'm going exactly this direction, and then charge it and go. And I know from playing Battlefront 2 enough against, with even torpedoes and stuff, if you blind fire a torpedo where you think a cruiser or something is going to be, and they're moving, half the time I miss if I do it from far enough away. And if you get really close, then you're going to get blasted out of the sky before you can deploy your hyperdrive. The third point, low payoff. So, and this is kind of factors into the first one of how expensive it is to do this. Even if you do connect with your target, there's no guarantee you're going to destroy it. Look at the size of the Raddus, which was the big cruiser that Admiral Holdo took control over. This was by far the largest ship for the Rebels we've ever seen in canon. and even that didn't destroy its target, which was the Supremacy. The Supremacy was still operational and able to land craft and perform operations on the surface of Crait. So it was still an operational ship. I mean, there was significant damage, no doubt. It took out a whole wing, basically, but it missed the bridge, it missed the center, it missed the, where all of the engine and the core of this ship was. And it just did. It looks like it did about 20 to 25% damage to this ship, and it was in a good spot, but it didn't destroy the ship. So they just took out, basically sacrificed 80% of their entire fleet, and it didn't even destroy its target. So think about that for how much. Now, a smaller ship is going to basically do even less damage. So like you send an X-Wing into hyperspace, it's not even going to, I don't even think it would even destroy an Imperial Star Destroyer, unless you happen to get lucky and hit the bridge. But then again, remember we were talking about small targets are harder to hit, especially when they're moving. So maybe you aim for the body of the ISD, and maybe you'll take out the hangar bay or some part of the hull, but you're not going to destroy your target. So you'd have to, have multiple ships all try to do it at the same time. I do want to make a point, though I have to concede at least one point, is that the shockwave from this explosion did damage most of the other Star Destroyers that were present. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were bunched up very, very close together. And so it's not every day that you're actually going to see that many ships practically on top of each other. So while there was, certainly a payoff in this case, that's certainly not going to be, the normalcy. You're not going to see, like, the Empire put all of their Star Destroyers on top of each other as a routine thing. You'll see that once in a while, but that's not always the case. And certainly, not the case in a lot of the battles we see where there's like one Imperial Star Destroyer and the Rebels are trying to do a hit and run tactics on it and things like that. So I'm going to move on to my fourth point here on why we're not going to really see this very often, is that it's unethical. Even if you get past the cost, the payoff, and you figure out a way to do it fast and make it land, it's still unethical. This is kind of the equivalent of suicide bombings or nuclear chemical weapons. It's just something that isn't really done. And if the rebellion started doing this as a practice, it would pretty much label them as a terrorist organization. The rebellion is trying to win the hearts and minds of the people, and they don't do that by using a weapon of last resort as a primary means of attack. In the case of this film, however, and why they did it when they did it, the First Order was firing on defenseless shuttles, which was, in my opinion, equally unethical. You don't shoot somebody that has no means to defend themselves. And so in that case, it warranted this, weapon of last resort. There was no other option. But in every other case, doing this as a primary means to wage warfare is going to hurt their cause so much more. And it's actually it would put the First Order as the victim, and it would draw a lot of sympathy towards the First Order. And the same thing, I don't see the First Order as doing this against the Rebellion. For one, the Rebellion typically has smaller, lighter craft, so it's like almost impossible to hit with weapons like this. And for two, their TIE fighters generally don't have hyperdrive, so they'd have to be using the really, really expensive, the Special Forces TIE fighters, or their cruisers and their larger ships, in which case, you're going to be sending a really big bullet after a really small maneuverable target. And so even if you do hit it, the First Order's lost more than the Rebellion's lost. So the Rebellion would usually love to sacrifice like maybe a small Corvette to take out a Star Destroyer. So if the First Order started sending Star Destroyers into hyperspeed as weapons, that would be really, really foolish, because those things cost a ridiculous amount, and there's not really a large target for them to even waste their time with trying to take that out. So it's very unethical. Any side that does it is going to really, really lose the hearts and minds of the people. I could see Saw Gerrera and his partisans potentially doing something like this. I could see that as being something that they would do, because they are straight up a terrorist organization, and that's one of the reasons why Mon Mothma doesn't want to work with them and all of that. So I could see them doing that, and that kind of illustrates my point on why the Rebellion is above that and won't do that as a matter of warfare. So that's what I have to say about using hyperspace as a weapon. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's any other plot holes you want me to cover. I'm going to continue to do this for as long as I feel it necessary. I just want to just talk about all this stuff. I think it's great to talk about these things. And, you know, and that's kind of why one of the things that Star Wars has always done for us is it's given us things to talk about. And hopefully some of these things can be resolved in the rest of Star Wars Rebels, in future books, and in whatever show they end up doing after Star Wars Rebels. We can continue to talk about this and drive the discussion. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you are a subscriber and leave a comment in this or one of my other videos, and you're automatically entered to win a $25 Amazon gift card so you can get yourself a copy of The Last Jedi Visual Dictionary. That contest is still going on right now. There's still time to enter, but you have to be a subscriber. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment in the comments below and let me know what you think, guys. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.